Hello, everybody. This is episode 9 of pretending that spending all my money on a self-contained custom instrument that only I can use is a good use of my time at 28. Okay, if you don't know what's going on, neither do I, but here's the best I can manage. My name's Julian. I play in a punk band from Canada called Inhalants, and I'm building the coolest instrument you've ever seen using a Gameboy, brute force, and what remains of my fleeting youth. We're going to see if I'm building a retro future masterpiece or if my new wife is going to become my ex-wife before I'm done with this. Okay, I'm really excited for this one because in this episode, we're assembling the test cut of my 3D model from the last episode. This is an experiment to see if everything fits together and to see if all the manufacturing and cutting methods I'm going to use are actually going to work. Most importantly, though, I wanted to hold this thing in real life so I can find out what issues come up and solve them all before I go to the final redesign. That way I only have to do one more revision, because I already know a few things I need to change, but I need to actually build this and hold it in my hands. As much as I'd like to be able to plan everything in 3D and then just cut the final product, experience has taught me that that's a terrible idea. Now, I don't know anything about anything, but there's a reason that all products go through alpha stages and prototyping phases. If you're designing something complex, you have to test the design in real life before you can be sure that your design is sound. When you're trying to take something like a design or a song or a film or a poem out of your head and bring it into reality, you're entering into a collaborative project with the universe. You have to be able to please the laws of physics and the constraints of reality, or they'll object to what you're doing because you and the universe don't agree, so the project won't be successful. So you have to ask it, if I can make this conform to your production notes like space and time and scale or weight or rhythm or like focal length or budget or whatever the constraints are, you ask the universe, if I can satisfy those, will you make this thing with me? And the answer to that question is always yes. That's what's cool about the universe. It's always down to work with you as long as you can satisfy its project guidelines. And it supplies 100% of the materials you'll be using, so it's a good partner if you give it a chance to contribute by making a prototype. I definitely fuck with the universe, even though it's going to kill me at some point. Anyway, let's build this thing, and then we'll talk about what needs to be changed. Back in the future. I wanted to do a bunch of dramatic shots of the build process, like a Colin Furs video or something, but it's all friction fit, and I'm not doing any finishing or cutting or sanding or anything like that. So it would just be a shot of the tabs going into the holes like 30 times. But I gotta say, having this in real life feels pretty fucking good. Immediately, there's a good list of things that I know need to be revised that I didn't think of in the design. So here's the list of the universe's contributions so far. So one of them is those rear side plates, the ones that I was showing earlier. These guys here. It's pretty hard to tell which one is which. But these are the ones where it was impossible to assemble it without cutting off some of the tabs. So I need to design those in a way where it can be assembled in a reasonable order. And in general, I have to do that. I have to decide on what sequence things are going to be assembled, and I have to design them accordingly because some of this stuff is physically impossible the way it's designed currently. The other thing I want to do is remove the number of screws that are visible on the outside. I only want them in place if they contribute to the aesthetic, especially on the top here. I don't think screws here are going to look nice. These edges are going to be rounded to match this curve here. And if I do that, there's not enough thickness in the material below to actually screw into it. So I think what I'm going to do, and I might come up with a better solution, but I might use an aluminum angle, which is just like a 90-degree corner made of aluminum, and I'll put those on the inside, and then I'll screw into the wood from the inside so that the outside doesn't have any screws, and that 90 degrees is really precise, so it should also allow me to have a nice corner, and then I can round this edge without worrying about how I'm going to put a screw through that. I also think there's a lot of areas where I could save weight. So wherever I can, I want to cut out parts of the wood where it's not visible and it's also not structural. So on the base plate for the bass amp, I could probably just have a hole in that and you would never see it, and it would take out a chunk of weight. And then in that same vein, I would like to use 1/4-inch material rather than using the 1/2-inch stuff everywhere. The 1/2-inch stuff is important because it's stronger and I'm rounding the edge, so I need that thickness in order to get the curve that I want. However, on the boards where there's no edge, I could use a 1/4-inch sheet, which will save weight there as well. And I have one sheet of that, so I may incorporate some of that into the design as well, where the edge doesn't matter and the piece is not structurally important. It's pretty satisfying to see that all my measurements for the pre-built components like my amp and the Chaos Pad and everything have worked so far. Like, the tolerances are really thin, so I measured properly on everything that I've checked. The next step is to place all of the internal components to see if there's any space, that needs to be created, or just to make sure that there's proper space for everything, and so that I know how everything's going to be mounted in case I need to put, actual mounting points in here. But before I go on any further in the enclosure design, I have a lot of electronics testing to do. I really need to make sure that all of the electronics that I have planned will work. So for the next couple of episodes, we're going to be making sure that the routing that I have planned and all the functionality is viable. In the next episode, I'm going to show you all the modifications I have to do to the Gameboy to get it stage ready, which is pretty cool, and that's something you can actually do. And then we're also going to see if I can solve a noise problem that I'm having with it, and that's going to require a little bit of creativity on my part. But before I go, I want to show you guys this awesome laser-cut wooden film projector that I got as a gift. It's something you assemble from a kit. It's actually made of really thin pieces of the same plywood that I'm going to be using for the Lameboy. It's so well designed and beautiful that it gave me a lot of inspiration for some things I might want to change in the Lameboy design. I could also make this thing a little bit more detailed and ornate and a little bit more beautiful. So what do you guys think I could do to this 3D model? Obviously, this looks like shit, but the 3D model that I have, what do you think I could do to it to make it more beautiful? I was thinking of engraving on the outside. Like, I could do some really ornate, like paisley patterning or something like that, but it might conflict with the sci-fi aesthetic, so I need a way to incorporate that because there's all these blank spaces, and with the CNC, I can do such super detailed stuff. And one thing I wanted to do, you can tell me if you're interested in this, I want to make a scale model of this that I can sell, because people have been asking for merch and stuff, and I'll be doing shirts and that kind of thing, because we are a band that has merch. But for this, I wanted to 3D print like a scale model, but that requires a bit of redesign. But then after building this thing, I was so impressed. I was thinking, why don't I just make a kit for this? And I could probably just scale that as it is. Everything should fit together at a smaller scale with a thinner piece of wood, as long as it's the same ratios. That's a possibility and might be pretty cool. Let me know if you'd be interested in something like that. It would all be pieces out of wood, and you could paint it up to look just like this model or my 3D model. And then I would probably 3D print the hardware pieces like the amp and the Chaos Pad and stuff like that. Those obviously won't be functional, but that would be cool. And then I was thinking maybe I could make it so that when you do place an order, you would have a custom print on the front, so whatever the display would be. I was also thinking, if anybody wants to contribute to this project somehow, financially or with gear or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's not necessary. I'm still going to finish this stuff without that. But if anybody did contribute, I was thinking I could permanently engrave their names into the back here, like a headstone or a mausoleum or something like that. I have an idea. I'll make a mock-up of it if people express any interest. But even like if I turn this into a kit and people buy it, I was thinking for the first 20 or something, I would engrave their name on the back of the final product if somebody bought the little kit model that I would make. So that's just an idea I had, but obviously depends on interest. So I don't want to put the work into that and have nobody be interested in it. But I do think it would be really cool to have a scale model of this just because miniatures are so fucking cool. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. The few comments I get on these videos actually make it really worthwhile. It's not a ton of viewership, but the couple responses I get and the few people that are very engaged really make it something I want to keep doing. A lot of people have asked, like, when are we playing? And we will be playing shows at some point. So I'm excited to meet those people who would come out to shows. And again, same thing with this visualizer, which we'll go into later. You can contribute to the project, and then we'll have it broadcast or projected on us when we play live or somehow integrated. I really want to engage you guys in this thing so it can be more than just something that I'm interested in. That's about it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.